than you.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I really think, Stephen A., if I promise to take it easy on you in a couple debates, would you show up at least later on in the show? Please.
Cats are scared, man.
Yeah.
You know, when you bring the business, this is what happens.
They are. No, we are in good hands. So let's get into it, gentlemen, and we start with those Giants. Longtime Giants wide receiver Amani Toomer says sorry, not sorry, for Odell Beckham Jr. getting brutally honest with OBJ. Take a listen.
Nobody cares about how you feel. Just play your game. Nobody cares about how, last night in an interview, he was talking about how the NFL is against him. You're not going to get any sympathy. You're Odell Beckham. You're on commercials. You're doing all kinds of stuff. Nobody feels sorry for you. So go change that whole line of thought. Yeah. You're a guy that people look up to. You're a guy that's ultra successful in this league. You're going through a little hard spell right now. Everybody goes through it. There's nothing special about your situation. I just want you to play your best football when you need to have it played.
Speaking of giving the business, Woody, he is not playing around. Meanwhile, Beckham vented his frustration to our Anita Mark, saying he believes the game against the Panthers, in which he lost control of his emotions in a matchup with, of course, Josh Norman, has tarnished his image, and blamed the media for not letting that game go, saying, quote, "Football is my sanctuary. It's where I go to escape. It's where I'm most happy. I'm not having fun anymore." Damien, what needs to happen now?
The man just needs to play ball. Listen, I think Amani Toomer hit it right on the head, because he seems like a guy that wants all the flash. He got the flashy hairdo. He has the commercial. He has the endorsements. He's playing in the biggest media market in the world. But you got to understand what comes with that. You're going to have guys that envy your success, and they're going to come after you week after week. And the fact that you displayed that type of emotion, in particular the Carolina Panthers game, guess what's going to happen? It's like anything in football. Once you show something, once you show a tendency, then people are going to keep checking you, going to keep coming after you game after game after game until you can show that you can control your emotions. Here's the thing about me personally. I love a guy with edge. I really do. I love edge. I think every football player that plays in the league is on a rocker to a certain degree. But on offense, you have to play with controlled aggression. And what I mean by that, you have to have that rage inside of you. But on offense, you got to be under control, because you got to understand what the defense is trying to do to you. And what Odell Beckham needs to understand, and I think Amani Toomer said it perfectly, nobody cares. I don't care. I don't know if you care, but most fans don't care. Most fans don't care. People don't care. All they want to see you do is go out there and produce. Now, let me say this. The Giants are not doing themselves any favors by coming out here and talking about these issues in the media. You need to take a page out of the Patriots book and move on. We're on to whoever. We're on to the next opponent. Why keep talking about these issues in the media? It's a distraction. Nobody wants to hear about it. And I know as a player on game day, you see Eli going up and talking to Odell Beckham Jr. He has a hard enough time trying to decipher what the defense is throwing at him, let alone being a babysitter on the sideline. Listen, I know for me, I have 7 kids. I don't want 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need an 8th child. You're a professional. This is professional football. Do your job. End of discussion, man.
Well, not exactly. I don't think Amani Toomer said it perfectly. I agree with his sentiment, and as a lifelong Giants fan, love me some Amani Toomer.
Oh, here we go.
However, people do care what Odell Beckham Jr. thinks. People didn't care so much. If it was Amani Toomer, he was a mere mortal receiver. He was not a next-level talent. He was a really good receiver. No, this Odell Beckham Jr. is something different. Actually, one of the problems is too many people do care what he thinks on social media, in commercials. Too many people are paying attention and validating this sense that he has that what he thinks about, how he feels about football is really important. Amani Toomer can't relate to that on an Odell Beckham Jr. level. Damian Woody, you can't either, even though you were a star and are now a star on TV. Neither can most of us. Odell Beckham Jr.'s level of fame and popularity, particularly in a social media age, is different than even stars of several years ago can relate to, and even huge stars, because he is an incandescent star in the NFL right now. Let me say this. Odell Beckham, and I feel like I want to address him directly. I get it. You feel like you're playing 4 different games. You have 4 different opponents every game. You have your actual opponent, who's more than one. It's their best corner plus their safety, every single game. I get that. You have the refs. It's true. The ref missed the call, and then you cost the team 15 yards for complaining about it. That's true. You feel like the media is another opponent. Also true. You have made the media an opponent, but I suppose any really famous football player, their every move is going to be scrutinized, though you haven't done yourself any favors there. And then also maybe even the Giants are an opponent at times. Eli, come on, I'm open. Or, hey, I was open. That pass was behind me. I get it. You feel like you got to win a lot of different battles. Here's the problem. All that stuff is true. I agree with you. How are you going to win? Do you want to win the war, yes or no? So this sense, Damian Woody, that he never wants to back down, that he has all this fighting spirit, I like that a lot. Great. But the way you have to harness that is different than what he's doing. You can't win every battle. You have to look at the entire picture and win the war. And his strategy so far has been very short-sighted. I'm not going to back down. After I get hit, I cost the team 15 yards. They don't blow the whistle. You know what? I'm going to be slick and look for contact on the very next play, even though it could have gotten him ejected and probably should have gotten him ejected from the game. He is not thinking long-term or maturely. He's gratifying his own impulses, which is to hit right back. I'm glad he has that impulse, but maturity is about focusing that impulse.
You know, I listened to all this stuff you're talking about, and it sounds like you're trying to have those built-in excuses for Odell Beckham Jr. You don't think Antonio Brown deals with these similar type of issues that Odell Beckham Jr. deals with on game day, where he's seeing double coverage? But you know what? He goes about his business, because what? Business is booming for Antonio Brown. See, the whole social media thing, guess what? You have control over that. You don't have to be on Twitter. You don't have to be on this and that. You have absolute control over that. So when you sit here and say that, yeah, you know, I haven't dealt with that, or Amani Toomer hasn't dealt with that, that's fine. But he brings it on himself by listening to what social media has to say, listening to this person, listening to that person. None of it matters. All that matters at the end of the day, listen, this is a simple game, Max. It's a simple game. Go out, play football. You play the game well, everything will come to you. You don't have to worry about all the other nonsense. He brings all this stuff on himself. If he really wants help, then he needs to, you know, maybe come at somebody and ask, okay, what can I do better? Not on game day, because on game day, each player should be focusing on his job, winning their job so they can win the game. Maybe behind the scenes, but this nonsense had to start with the Giants talking about the media, Odell Beckham listening to everybody in the media. Man, just do your job, man. That's all I care about.
You just said the key. If he really wants help. I don't think he does. I mean, it's like an alcoholic who can't, everyone else can want it for you until you admit you have a problem, and then nothing's going to change. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. thinks he needs help. I don't think he thinks he actually has to change anything. And the reason I say that, for example, yesterday he tweeted out something on Twitter, a poem, Invictus, a stanza from a poem, Invictus, which is, though he didn't tweet this part, the theme of it is basically, I stand here bloodied but unbowed. Right? I mean, that's like, and I said yesterday at the end of the show.
I don't want to hear any of it. That sounds similar to, like, you know, the things that, like, Robert Griffin III, like, he would always do.
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like, do you think players in the locker room really want to hear about that? Nobody wants to hear about that.
That's fine. That's fine. But I'm actually looking at what he's saying. Whether or not you want to hear it, I'm looking to hear the message he's trying to put out. And that poem is like singing My Way, Frank Sinatra's My Way. You know, I'll speak the words I really feel and not the words of one who kneels or something. He's not getting it. And the reason when he talks, he's saying stuff that's rubbing you the wrong way is because he hasn't internalized any of the messages that he's getting through the media, coaches. Tom Coughlin, former coach, is saying, look, I know he plays on high emotion. He thinks when he's at his most emotional self, he's his best self. But he needs to learn how to harness that, focus it. I don't think Odell thinks that yet. The messages he's sending is basically, nope, I'm going to do it my way. I'm bloodied but unbowed. I don't think he wants to change right now.
And you know what? Doing it your way hasn't gotten you to the playoffs. Yep. And listen, at the end of the day, as a player, we're better. The Giants are better as a team when his head is on straight and he's out there balling. But no player is bigger than the team. If you can't get your act together, I know as a player, The way I keep food on my plate is we got to win. We need all 53 guys.
On your plate,
a lot of food on the plate, buddy. All 53 guys on the roster, they got to come correct. They got to come and play. I don't want to hear about your issues. You need to check that stuff. When we get into the stadium, when we cross the white lines, your issues need to be checked. I need your head on straight, ready to ball, because too many guys are dependent on you.
You know what? But here's the problem. There was really two different issues here.
Why are you fighting me,
that were rolling into one.
Why are you fighting me?
Do you know what show this is?
Why are you fighting me right now?
You know I love you. There are two different issues here. Here, is this tone better for you?
No, I need you to bring it, bro.
There are two different issues here. One is the on-the-field stuff where you're absolutely right. No one player, I don't care who you are, is bigger than the team. Even if you're the greatest quarterback in the world, and if you get bigger than the team, it'd be Brett Favre at times. It's like, oh, that's not working. He needs... So no, but then the reality is, in terms of the way the team is covered, in terms of fan interest, he is bigger than the team. That's the reality. So those two realities are butting heads, and he has to decide what he wants. Does he want to be a great football player, which I think he is, on a great team? Does he want to get the most out of that? Or is the other stuff more important? Because the fact is he bigger than the team or not? No one's talking. He's bigger than the game. No one's talking about right now, like, we're not leading the show with the Minnesota Vikings, Super Bowl contenders. We're leading the show 2 days later, or a day later, 2 days later, with, not the Giants, Odell Beckham Jr. He's clearly bigger than the team.
So basically what you're saying is he needs to decide whether he wants to be selfish or not.
Yes.
I mean, because with his antics and everything that he's doing, it's a detriment to the team, and it's being selfish towards the team.
And one thing I want to add, that's scary territory. We're leading the show not with Odell Beckham based on what he's done on the field. It's like the Cowboys. We're talking about the headlines and the drama. So that's scary, uncharted territory for the Giants now to get into. That's our focus. It's not what they're doing. It's just all the drama that he's creating.
To that point, this is what I mean when I say Odell Beckham's the best receiver, although I agree Antonio Brown's even-keeled temperament is much more mature than Odell's. But I'm just talking about on-the-field talent. I don't think there's anyone as good as Odell. That includes Julio Jones and A.J. Green and everyone. I think
that's a homo statement, right?
No, that's not a homo statement. I didn't say that about Michael Strahan. I said it about Lawrence Taylor, not Michael Strahan.
Right? So you think Odell Beckham Jr. is better than Antonio Brown, Julio Jones?
Well, the whole package at this point, I can't say that. But on-the-field talent, yeah, I think he's more talented than anyone.
Well, he could really reach his full potential if he can get the emotions in check, or at least become aware, to your point.
To your point, here's the proof in the pudding. You know what people are saying now? Odell Beckham better be careful. He's going to turn into T.O. Mm-hmm. You're going to fall down to a guy who should already be in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, but see, that's the point. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet because of his attitude, but he's going to be there.
But they mean becoming your alter ego rather than the dominant player that you are. But I'm with you as a Giants fan, even 100% based on everything that you said there. I'm over the excuses. Let's get the job done.
First Take is brought to you by Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion. And Heineken. Open your world. Enjoy responsibly.
Josh Norman voiced his opinion on his former team's defensive struggles of late, specifically Julio Jones' record-setting day against the Panthers, 12 catches for 300 yards. Norman telling our Vaughn McClure, shoot, just disrespectful to line up a rook against that man like that, like he's not the top wide receiver in the league. Damian, is it time for Josh Norman to stop talking about the Carolina Panthers?
Absolutely. It's like saying, why are you worried about what's going on in another man's house? You know what I mean? Like, here's the thing for me. You've already won. You've already won. You are a fifth-round pick that basically you're self-made, built yourself up into one of the top 3 cornerbacks in the National Football League. They decide to let you go. You're now the highest paid cornerback in the league, and you're concerned about the Carolina Panthers and what's going on over there? Like, to me, that makes no sense. It just reeks to me of a guy that just wants some attention, wants to kind of talk about what happened with Carolina and Julio Jones. Hey, I told you so. So what? You need to be concerned about what's going on in Washington and that secondary in Washington. That's what you really need to be concerned about. Because, listen, Carolina as an organization, particularly on defense, they've never paid anybody in their secondary. You knew that. I'm sure your representatives knew that. They pour their money in the defensive front. So the fact that you moved on to Washington, got paid, got your money, again, I asked, what possible reason do you have for talking about another man's house? Doesn't make any sense.
I have an answer for that. I have an answer for that because I love this. I actually love this. And you're talking from the point of view of a player and a team player and a guy who's trying to win football games. But I'm just talking about from maybe it's more of a fan's point of view or maybe a human point of view. Josh Norman built himself from 5th-round pick to elite defensive player on his competitiveness. This dude is just next-level competitive. So however he's rationally knows in his rational brain, they're not going to pay me like that, whatever. What he's telling himself is, oh, they think it's just their system. They think I'm a system corner. They don't think I'm a cover guy. They don't think I'm worth the money. I'm going to show them. That's what it's all about. Now, when can you talk? When your team wins. The team just won a couple of games. And when the team that got rid of you just lost. And when they got burnt by an elite receiver that you put a guy on who's cheap because they didn't want to pay you. That's when you talk. Here's the downside. You talk in good times, that's all right. There will be bad times. The Panthers are going to be good at times. And I think they're a better team than Washington. And you will get burnt at times trying to cover guys. And that's when you're going to get criticized. And that's why I hate him because he's on Washington, I'm a Giants fan. But that's why I love Josh Norman, the player, because he's willing to put himself out there, knowing what the consequences are, knowing just like when, even though he's not really a cover corner who's just going to shadow a guy all day and everything, but knowing that even though that's not his job, he will still get blamed. When someone catches a touchdown pass and he's in the frame on your TV screen, oh, look, they caught it on Josh Norman. Knowing that, he'll still talk smack going into that game, knowing that the Panthers are going to win and that the Washington's going to lose, and there'll be weeks where they point the finger back at him. He's still willing to do it. He's willing to take that heat because he believes in himself. I love a guy like that.
Listen, for him, he's just building up his reputation on TV. I get it. Okay, I guess it's part of this new wave of, professional athletes. They just want to brand themselves. But again, so you're gonna go talk smack about some rookies who are just going up against Julio Jones, who's just getting their feet wet. Like you haven't been toasted before, in particular like in practice with Deshaun Jackson toasting you in practice. I mean, to go out there and just to keep talking about the Carolina Panthers, bro, that makes you look silly. You're paid. You have the reputation. You're an all-pro type player. Again, I'm going to ask you, Max, why in the world should he be concerned with the Carolina Panthers? They took it on the chin. Yeah, they took it on the chin by the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons is balling right now. But again, Washington, he needs to be concerned about what the Redskins are doing as opposed to what some rookies in the Carolina Panthers secondary, what they're doing.
He uses every little piece of motivation he can get. Now, I'm surprised at you, Damian Woody. I'm surprised at you.
I don't get into all these, I'm going to use this for a motivational ploy. Listen, the fact that I'm stepping on the field and I'm getting challenged by the guy across me, that's enough motivation in and of itself. Why do I need to be motivated by, the Carolina Panthers, they released me, or, some rookie got toasted by Julio Jones? Who cares?
I remember in 1998, the Yankees had won 125 games and the World Series, and Derrick Jeter was the biggest star in the world. I remember Jeter, who never stepped in it, right, never said anything, saying after the season at one point, they say we couldn't do it. And I thought, who said that? Everyone thought that you were going to win since you traded for Knobloch in the offseason. Everyone thought you were going to win 125 games. Who are these people who said you couldn't do it? When the actual opponent isn't there, the super competitive athletes have to invent them. Josh Norman actually has an opponent here. It's the Carolina Panthers. And everything he says is actually not directed at the rookie corner. He's actually giving him a pass. Look, you can't cover Julio Jones with a rookie corner. You can't cover him one-on-one. He's actually complimenting Julio Jones. Everything he says is directed at the Carolina Panthers' brains. He's saying, that was stupid to let me go. You're the team that didn't want to pay me. That was dumb. That was a mistake. And everything all the evidence he gives points to that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Who brains do you trust more? The Carolina Brain Trust, who just came off a Super Bowl, or the Washington Redskins, who haven't done squat in I don't know how long? Who brains do you really trust now?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Carolina.
No,
Carolina.
Right.
I'm talking about from his point of view.
So this nonsense that you're talking about, I'm putting my faith in the Carolina Panthers. I don't know about this nonsense you're talking about. The bottom line here, matter of fact point is this. You need to be worried about the Washington Redskins, that secondary, because to me, the Washington defense, What have they done? What has he done in that Washington defense? Listen, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we're going to be able to line all this up. And we're going to see where the Carolina Panthers are, and we're going to see where the Washington
Redskins. I'll put my money on Carolina.
Of course.
I'll put my money on Carolina,
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
But we're talking about from the player's point of view, and you hit on it earlier. He has a media career now. I mean, that's one of the things about Washington, and I think Dan Snyder's a bad owner. I think that's a bad franchise, and they make signings like this. A guy who's not a cover guy, now they want to turn him into a cover guy, and they overpay him and all that kind of stuff. They did the same thing with, it was Hainsworth. I mean, like, you know, they put guys in bad positions that they overpay after good seasons. That's not the way the NFL generally works. But one of the things about Josh Norman is he comes in and doesn't tell him, and now he has a TV show, and people, and that became a news cycle. We discussed it on this show. He has opinions. He knows how to make waves. Here we are talking about. He has a career in broadcasting, and he's also looking out for that. Absolutely.
I have a question for you, Max. Obviously, everyone knows that Carolina potentially made a mistake in letting Josh Norman go, but do you think it's more impactful when he lets other people say that than he actually goes out and says it?
Of course it looks better if he doesn't say it. But first of all, that's not his brand. And secondly, as I just said, you know, Muhammad Ali talked more smack than anyone who ever lived. And one of the reasons that we still remember him and talk about it is not just his stance on Vietnam and the fact that he beat Foreman and Frazier and enlisted in these guys. It's that he said he was going to do it, told you how he was going to do it, and then went out and did it. Now, I'm not saying Norman's Muhammad Ali. And I don't know if he can back up all the talk, though. He's done a pretty good job so far. Not one-on-one. He can't cover Odell and Julio Jones one-on-one. No one can. And particularly not him. But has he been an excellent defensive player? Yeah. And the fact is, there's at least a correlation right now. I don't think it's causal. I don't think it's the reason. But he left Carolina, and they are now 1-3 and looking bad and just got burnt by an elite wideout. I mean, if you're going to say something, now's the time, and he said it.
No question.
I hope it holds up. Listen, after a Super Bowl, most teams have hiccups after the Super Bowl, you know, in particular a team that loses. So I just want to see how this whole thing plays out. Because right now you're yapping. You're doing a lot of talking right now off of one game. Mm-hmm. Man, don't let me see you getting roasted out there because you better believe
he knows. He knows. And he knows that he's willing to take it. He's willing to take the heat.
There was a great piece last night. I don't know if you guys saw it on E60. Lisa Salters did a whole interview with Josh Norman, his brother. It's really interesting. His whole journey, though, coming from the 5th round, what he did and everything he overcame. Definitely check that out. Stephen A. will be with us shortly. But coming up next, Brady, he's back in Vegas, has taken notice. I will explain. We will react after the break. The U.S. men's national team will play a historic friendly against Cuba in Havana. That's Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. It'll be the first friendly the two have played since 1947. Very cool. It's win or go home tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We'll have the NL wildcard game between the Giants and Mets at Citi Field, with the winner advancing to play the Cubs in the NLDS. And after the game, don't miss SportsCenter at night with John Anderson and Steve Levy. They'll have all the highlights, a full breakdown of the game, NBA preseason highlights, NFL news, everything else from a very busy time in sports. So as we approach Week 5 in the NFL, Westgate Las Vegas Superbook has ranked the NFL teams with the best Pro Football Championship odds, and no surprise, the dynasty that is New England has the best odds to win it all at 4-1, followed by Green Bay at 6-1, Seattle 7-1, Denver 8-1, and then Minnesota at 9-1. Max, I want to start with you here. Should New England be favored to win it all in Vegas?
The answer is no. But first I want to explain what odds are really quickly. The betting line that Vegas sets, they're just trying to get equal action on both sides of the line, right? And then if there's more action on one side, the line moves. So those odds can change. But they're just trying to predict what the crowd is going to say. And if you read James Surowiecki's book, The Wisdom of Crowds, it explains why the line is so hard to beat. Because the crowd makes really good predictions. Everyone's wisdom put together, which is basically what a betting line is, will over time do better in terms of predicting things than the smartest member of the crowd. Think about that for a second. The dumb people actually make the crowd even smarter than the smartest person. It's weird that way. So the betting line says the Patriots, and that makes sense because most seasons in most sports, we know who's going to be in the mix. The Spurs, not this year because of Kevin Durant, but most years the Spurs will be in the mix. If you set the Spurs, you know, among the favorites, that's going to happen. Alabama, you know, every year. And the Patriots fall into that category, obviously. Every year, you want to sound pretty smart, pick the Patriots. They're going to be right in the mix. But how far do they get into that mix usually? Well, in recent years, that depends on the health of Gronk. Gronkowski's health determines that. Because Tom Brady, who, as I said, has at most a season and a half left. He could fall off the cliff any minute, given his age, is what happens in the NFL. But Tom Brady's greatness in recent years is his lightning-quick ability to read defenses and make great decisions with the ball. He reads things so quickly and makes such great decisions that they're always a playoff team. But when they advance in the playoffs, when they threaten to win a Super Bowl, is when he has a guy in Gronkowski that allows him to be less than perfect. Just chuck it in his direction. He'll come down with it. And when Gronk is on the field, the Patriots absolutely are among the maybe two favorites in the AFC. But when he's not, they're not. They're just not. And it's really early, and Gronk has already had health concerns this year, and given Brady's age and Gronk's health pattern, I don't think you can put them ahead of the Denver Broncos, who just won the Super Bowl last year, beat the Patriots in the playoffs, with Gronkowski, by the way, and has since then looked better. Their offense looks better. Their defense looks as good as ever. I wouldn't put them ahead of the Broncos, and that's just in the AFC, Damian.
Oh, Max, let me break this down to you. And here's why I believe the Patriots should be favored. When you go back, first of all, let's start with this year. Let's start with this year alone. Here we are at the quartermark, New England 3-1 without Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. You know, with Tom being suspended, what the Patriots were able to do? They were able to identify things that they could work on to become an even better team. You know what they've done? They've become an even better rushing team. Another thing that people don't talk about is their defense. They've always had an underrated defense. They got boatloads of talent on the defensive side of the football. They got their old offensive line coach back, Dante Scarnecchia, which has been a problem for the New England Patriots the past couple of years, the play up front. So when you combine all those things and the fact that they haven't really had to play Gronk because they've been doing so well. So all this time, Gronk has just been getting healthy. Now you enter into the equation Tom Brady, who we know is gonna come play with it like his hair is on fire. Why in the world would you favor a matchup between Tom Brady and Trevor Siemian? Who would you favor in that matchup?
If independently, independently, if the question is Tom Brady better than Trevor Siemian? The answer is yes. Even when he's hurt, he's better than Trevor Siemian.
And to me, the Patriots...
But they're not playing each other.
The Patriots are a better team this year than they were last year. I don't know...
Because they got Bennett at tight end?
No, because of the things I just said. So you're not listening to me right now?
Listen, the Patriots...
They have more balance offensively, and they're going to be even better when Tom Brady comes back. Gronk is going to come back. He's going to come back fresh. He's going to come back even healthier. Add him with Martellus Bennett and all the weapons that they had on offense.
They got some good linebackers. They haven't even all been healthy yet. All that is true.
Right.
All that's true.
So for me, I'm not going to say that the Denver Broncos are better than the New England Patriots when the Patriots 3-1 playing with second and third string quarterbacks out there. You got the best head coach in NFL history in Bill Belichick. This team is markedly better than they were last year. Listen, when it comes to the Patriots, when it comes to the Patriots, it's like Tiger Woods, back in the day, Tiger Woods in the field. I'm always going to go with Tiger, and in this case, I'm going to go with the Patriots right now, better than the field.
Yeah, except that they played each other in the playoffs last year, and the Broncos won.
I just said the Patriots are better than last year.
And they had Gronk. You're assuming Gronk will be there. You're forgetting about the fact that LeGarrette Blount is 30 years old.
And playing out of his mind right now.
He is, but let's see what it is. What a 30-year-old running back is at the end of the season and in the postseason. You're assuming Gronk will be there, and you're assuming that the Broncos haven't gotten any better. Have the Broncos gotten better? Have the Broncos gotten better?
I would say offensively they're probably a little bit better. But since we're on this whole assumption thing that you're on, so we're assuming that
I'm not assuming. You
said, we assume that Gronk is going to be this. We're assuming that LeGarrette Blount's going. So can we also say it on the same side with the Denver Broncos? Listen, I know what it's like to play as a Super Bowl champion the year after when every team brings their A game. That is mentally taxing. It wears on you as the season goes along. I don't know what the Denver Broncos are going to look like at the end of the season after playing a 16-game slate where every team is up because they're playing a Super Bowl champion. I don't know. What I do know is I know the Patriots are a much better team than last year. That's why I'm going to favor the
So far, they've taken out Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, and Andy Dalton. We're not even in week 5 yet.
Wait a minute. Are we really talking about The Colts, Andrew Luck. I mean, yeah, okay, the Luck guy has name brand, but
he's a
come
great
on, man,
quarterback.
the Colts are trash, man. Let's be real.
Well, see, yeah, the rest of the team is, but Andrew Luck ain't.
Okay.
And by the
But
way,
last time I checked, it's a team sport.
Those are three. One of the reasons people are down on the Panthers is the 1-3 record instead of the 2-2 record. One of the reasons they lost is because week 1, when they were flying high and everything, they had to go to Denver and play the Super Bowl champions. All I know is that the reigning Super Bowl champions who just beat the Patriots in the last postseason that was played are now undefeated and looking better than ever, but somehow the Patriots have leapfrogged them. And that's just the AFC, by the way.
Okay.
How about the Minnesota Vikings? How are they looking so far?
Minnesota's looking well.
Yeah,
they're looking good.
Yeah, a little bit of
I'm not taking the Minnesota Vikings over the New England Patriots.
How about the Seattle
they're like a novice. The Minnesota Vikings are like a novice right now. They're just starting to find their way as far as being a good team. They were good last year. They're getting better, but we're gonna put them in the same.
So they were finding their way last year.
They found their way last year.
So now they're taking the next step.
They're taking the next step. But I'm not. Are you ready to put them in the class of the New England Patriots?
At this point, based on what I've seen so far.
Come on.
Come on,
It's
man.
New England versus everybody. Come on,
No,
Max. It's New England and everyone else.
New England and everyone else.
Yes.
By the way, the Seattle Seahawks in recent years been just as successful as the New England Patriots. And we're going to talk about it later in the show. Pete Carroll's there saying this is the best team he's ever coached. You're going to write off the Seahawks?
I'm not. Wait, hold on. Listen, I'm not writing off anybody. I'm just making my case as to why I feel the Patriots should be the favorites
Basically, what everyone's
forward.
argument on the Patriots was, and it was mine too, until I saw what the Broncos, the Broncos after a certain time would say, okay, I got to back off that, is that, look at them. They're 3-1 even without Tom Brady. Just imagine, we're projecting forward and imagining what they're going to be with Tom Brady, and therefore we're giving them the credit that they have not yet earned this season and leapfrogging them over another team that has earned that credit this season and last.
And here's what we got to go to break, guys. Say your last. You have a quick last point?
I want to say this about Denver Broncos and Trevor Siemian. We had the quarter mark. Everyone has tendencies.
Yep.
Let's see how he adjusts now.
I love fired up Max. I don't think Stephen A gets him quite as fired up as you do, Damien Wood, but Stephen A will be here with us the next block. Damien also sticking around. We're having fun. We're going to talk a little Cowboys. Who should be their quarterback when Tony Romo returns? We shall discuss. Coming up manana on the show, rapper, producer, and Atlanta superfan T.I. will be in the house. Tune in at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Again, that is tomorrow. Speaking of today, though, look who's here. There he is. So nice to see his face. I'm sorry you had a tough morning. How you doing?
Well, I'm fine. It wasn't my fault, so I'm good. You know, I understand when I only got a problem when it's on me. You know, if it's on other people, technical difficulties and all that stuff, these are the kind of things that happen. It happens to every network. It happened to us. It's no big deal. Damien Woody held it down. I'm proud of you, big boy. I was listening to you driving in. You were almost as good as me. I mean, not quite, but you know that the potential is there. So I want to give you props. And my man, Max Kellerman, holding it down the way that I expected him to hold it down. But now I'm back, so it's time for y'all to get smoked. Get ready. And by the way, Max, that stubble on your head, I mean, are they making fun of you? From this studio,
yes,
it looks considerably gray. You almost look like Moses. What are you about to do, part the Red Sea?
Hold on.
What is that?
I know that you're not talking about facial hair stenciling in. This little thing went out in the late 90s. Yeah, I'm going gray. What are you going to do?
That's right. All right, I got you. I understand, man. I understand. I'm here. I got some gray hairs coming in here as well.
Stephen, here's my question.
On the way, baby.
If I let you win 1 or 2 debates, will you promise to show up for the first half of the show from now on? Is that what's going on?
Well, first of all, I was available for the first half of the show. Blame somebody else. That's number one. I was there from 9:30. Secondly, and more importantly, let's hear this. Let's understand something. I'm waiting for you to win a debate. You haven't won one yet. Listen, I'm almost getting to the point where I need to apologize on national television for the daily beatdowns that you get.
We're going to have to have an intervention, I think, Molly. Just let them know what's happening.
You don't want
to talk to me. Because if we want to talk about
I'm not scared of you, Damien.
Okay,
I'm not scared of you.
You don't want to talk about beat downs.
I don't have to worry about you. I don't have to worry about you, man. I'm on screen. I ain't near you.
You guys are talking a lot of trash. You ready to do this? Let's do it. Former Cowboy and 3-time Super Bowl champion Jay Novacek weighed in on what should happen when Tony Romo returns. Take a listen.
When Tony's ready to play, I'd sure enough start Dak, you know, and just always have that little backup situation going there. If things aren't going quite right, then you put Tony in. I think eventually he'll probably end up starting as long as he's healthy and everything's going great. But right now, you know, those first few games back, I would kind of let him get back into the feel of things before I throw him right in there as a starter.
Novacek, of course, catching passes from Troy Aikman. He was a part of those great 90s Cowboys teams. Stephen A., do you agree with him when he says he should stick with Dak even when Romo returns?
Well, again, I've said from day one, that depends on how Dak is looking at the time that Tony Romo is eligible to come back. I don't think 4 games sets the stage for the new guy to dethrone Tony Romo, even though I think that Tony Romo is impotent come postseason time. He doesn't get anything done. He does put up stellar numbers during the regular season and manages to win games on occasion. I think that what it comes down to is simply this, and I've said this from day one. It doesn't matter what the Cowboys' record is, or what their record is. If Dak Prescott is balling out up to the moment that Tony Romo arrives, you leave Tony Romo's behind on the bench. You move into a different era. Because at 36 years of age, with 2 back surgeries in the last 3 years, or 2 back injuries rather, in the last 3 years, along with a couple of other injuries, he is breaking down before our very eyes. Jerry Jones is on the record that he's not getting any younger. We understand the ineptitude that is the moribund Dallas Cowboys franchise, who hasn't won a Super Bowl in more than 2 decades, who had back-to-back-to-back 8-8 seasons where they lost the final regular season of a game with the NFC East crown on the line. They had a 12-4 record. It was the catch that wasn't the catch, and that was their best season in the last 20 years. 10 of those years, Tony Romo has been the quarterback for this franchise. He has not gotten it done. He has not produced it in the postseason. And as a result, you get to a point in time where the years is not something that Jerry Jones can count on in terms of being added to his life. Time is running out. He is on the record saying so I don't feel off the cuff by saying that. And as a result, you've got to go with your best opportunity. There's something to be said for continuity, fluidity rather, and so on and so forth. And if they have that with Dak Prescott, what the hell are you messing with that for? You leave it alone, you flow with it, and you ride into a new era with this dude because he is a young stud who has the poise, and more importantly, the team is clicking with him. You don't interrupt that. Revisit it in the offseason, but as of right now, you flow with what is because it is working for you. And God knows there's been very little that has flowed for the Dallas Cowboys franchise over the last 2+ decades. Leave well enough alone. Don't push your luck because you haven't had much of it.
I would say this. Of course, if he's balling out of control, you got to leave Dak in there. If the Cowboys are like 6-1, 7-1, something like that, you got to leave him in there. That's the history of the league. I always bring up Kurt Warner, who not only got his job because of an injury, but then lost it to Mark Bulger, who was never as good as Kurt Warner because, you know, St. Louis was something like 8 straight wins at the time, something like that. And so he kept the job, even if it's not because of the quarterback. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If the system's working, you stay with it. I don't expect either one of those things to happen. I think Dak is an excellent young quarterback. I think he's the real deal. Love him. As a Giants fan, wish they could find a guy like that in the draft because that looks like a franchise quarterback moving forward, but he is a rookie. And teams will start preparing for him. And I expect teams to start having better success against him, particularly as Dallas starts to play some real teams. They haven't really played that many tough teams so far. And they have a loss week 1 to the Giants, and then they've played, you know, the Bears and the Browns. I mean, come on, that's the reality. So considering that they're probably more likely to be 5-4 or 4-5 by the time Romo gets back, and Dak will be playing well, but maybe not setting the world on fire by that point, then you got to bring in Tony Romo, who, let's not forget, Stephen A., I think you're hard on him in the playoffs. 1 pass away, which that call could have gone either way. I think they got the call right, but it was that close to getting to the NFC Championship game not that long ago, and he's 13-3. He's 13-3 in his last 16 games.
Stop with your blasphemy. How much time was left on the clock even if Des Bryant had caught that pass.
I don't remember offhand.
There was about more. I don't remember offhand either, but if my memory serves, I don't remember offhand, but I think it was more than 2 minutes. Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field against that Dallas Cowboys defense, I don't care if he had caught the pass. They would have found a way to lose that game.
But they were very much in that
don't
game.
Give me that.
You're right. I shouldn't say the game was over at that point.
That's where we're going.
They were very much in that game. They could have easily won it. By the way, on the road against the Packers. Yeah, and Tony Romo can play.
Listen, man.
That's where he's going, Damien. That's where he's going, Damien.
In his last 16 games.
Here's my thing. Why are we talking about a game that was like an eternity ago? Both of y'all sound like y'all tap dancing like Gregory Hines. Just call it what it is.
First of all, you stole my line.
Wait a minute.
First of all, you just stole my line.
That's mine.
And secondly,
that is
watch
mine.
your mouth. You watch your mouth.
Both of y'all out here tap dancing
mouth.
right now. My thing is this. Here's the deal.
I don't
It is time to turn the page. You know why? Because in football, more so than any other sport, your best ability is your availability. And Tony Romo is not an available quarterback. Tony Romo, throughout his career, has basically been an 8-8 quarterback. Would you agree with that, Stephen A. Smith? He's been an 8-8 quarterback.
I said this for how many years? You got that from me. You got that from me.
He's been an 8-8 quarterback. So if you are an 8-8 quarterback, I would rather ride with a rookie who has upside, who you can develop with the skilled players that the Dallas Cowboys have on that team, the offensive line that they have, Zeke Elliott in the backfield, Dez Bryant. I would rather put my chances on Dak Prescott than somebody who's just broken down, who's hobbling out on the field. Forget about it. I'm rolling with Dak. I'm turning the page. I'm moving forward.
Whoa. You can continue to talk. First of all, I have a couple of questions. Number one, don't be disrespectful. You're a guest. Number two, don't steal my line, because that was my line about the Gregory Hines. Don't steal my line.
My mama told me, if you come over somebody's house more than once, then you can go in somebody else's refrigerator. You're not a guest anymore.
And why we got to do that?
I've kicked my feet up on the table. I'm not a guest anymore.
Why we got to bring up Mama Woody? You know I can't refute that. I can't refute Mama Woody. Watch your mouth. That's number two. Number three, don't steal my lines with the tap dancing. No. Last but not least, here's my question. My question, Damien, is this. Question. So, if Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are struggling, you're telling me that under no circumstances do you consider bringing Tony Romo back in if he's healthy?
Listen, I'm all about the long-term vision. Long-term. Why hamper the development of Dak Prescott to bring in a quarterback that's broken down between the clavicle, the shoulder, the back? What more are you gonna get out of Tony Romo? He's been playing behind arguably the best offensive line in the league, and every other game something happened. He broke down here or there. So
I'm not about to defend Tony Romo.
Why even bother?
I'm not about to.
I'm
not about to defend. I'm getting ready to answer your question. I'm not about to defend Tony Romo because I've always said if Dak Prescott is balling, you leave him in there. But at the same time, because he's just a rookie and because he has his whole future ahead of him, if the Dallas Cowboys for some reason find themselves struggling on offense with Dak Prescott at some juncture before Tony Romo returns, once he's eligible to return, I don't think you leave him sitting down under that condition this season. Dak Prescott is clearly the future, but with now being the priority, if he finds himself struggling over the next 5 or 6 weeks, now we got a different argument. But as of right now, I think you stay with Dak.
But here's my thing. The Dallas Cowboys aren't an old team. They got a bunch of young players on that team. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys saying, listen, we got a chance to develop a young quarterback to go along with all this young talent that we have. Even if we do struggle, the payoff is going to come in the long. If the payoff is coming in the long term.
You're not considering something.
What is it, Max? What is it?
That when Mama told you that you could go into someone else's fridge, it's probably because you were eating her out of house and home.
Well, I was. I'm not denying that.
That way she sends you to someone's house one time. She sends you
Mama
back.
could have knocked you out. Mama could have knocked you out. That's what the problem was. He could have knocked you out.
So these the lines we're throwing out now? Are these the lines we're throwing out?
Week on a Wednesday. Can Tony Romo just come back so we can stop debating this and figure out what the heck's going to happen? That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's see what the record is. Let's see how he's playing. That's what it's going to come down to.
We will leave it there. Thank you so much. The ratings are about to drop. Damien's leaving us, and now we're with Stephen A. the rest of the show.
I tried to help you,
Oh, I
Stephen
think
A.
the rating, listen,
When I bless you with my presence, that good things happen. So I don't know.
Hey, listen. Hey, listen. You coming to my rescue, much appreciated. Few could have done it better. So long as you understand, big boy, you're still a young buck here. I appreciate it, but you're not me. Know your place. Know your place.
You just heard him get back in studio so we can do this live and direct.
Yes, I'm with it. Damien, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Great having you. The Warriors, who, no surprise, looked like men amongst boys during their preseason opener, destroying the Clippers by 45 points, 120-75. Now, keep in mind, this coming a week after Doc Rivers said there is no gap between Golden State and L.A. Last night, the gap was glaring. In his home debut at Oracle, KD had 21.7 rebounds, 7 assists in 24 minutes. Stephen A., you've been lamenting about this super team that became even more super when KD joined. Is the season already over?
Well, the regular season is. I mean, look, I don't want to hear no nonsense from Max, who gets to watch beautiful fights from ringside on Saturday nights and goes to Vegas. There are worse places to go than Sin City, let me tell you. But let me tell you something right now. I'm so disgusted. I was watching the game last night, some of it. I couldn't take but so much of it. And I just said, you know what, that damn Max Kellerman, I know he's going to be smiling today that is, like it's no big deal. But it is a big deal. Kevin Durant has ruined the regular season. I understand that the championship is not a foregone conclusion. I understand that the playoffs could be labeled somewhat interesting with San Antonio, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's still not a bad team, by the way, with Cleveland in the East. But the regular season itself, I mean, this is what we talk about here. 45 points. 71-33 at the half. Blake Griffin getting a technical foul, sitting on a bench in the third quarter. Chris Paul not having but so many points. DeAndre Jordan with his loving the gold medals more than NBA championship self. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And what happens? You go up against Kevin Durant, and everything is just ruined. It's just ruined. It's just ruined, okay? This is Kevin Durant, one of the top 3 players in the world, who goes to the team with the best regular season record, with the reigning 2-time league MVP, with the best shooting backcourt in the world that we've ever seen in the NBA. This is what we get. I mean, just an annihilation. No answer whatsoever for the Golden State Warriors. They could put up 120 a night if they wanted to. And I'm just saying, this is what y'all want. This is what the Max Kellermans of the world want. This is what the basketball fans out there want. Listen, I'm going to watch everybody else. It'll be interesting to watch these other teams. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not that interested in seeing Golden State in the regular season. Not the regular season. They've ruined it. Kevin Durant has ruined the regular season. He is too great of a player to end up there, of all places. 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", 7'6" wingspan, can handle, can pull up from 30, and he's within one game of an NBA Finals, loses and goes to the team he loses to. I mean, you just can't make this up. I am so disgusted because I am old school. I love competition. It means everything to me. And this guy ends up going and joining the enemy instead of looking forward to going up against them. The whole regular season's fun. Y'all want to watch Golden State. I really don't. I really don't. I'm just disgusted because, to me, I don't see how in a 7-game series you can figure things out, make it hard, make it difficult or whatever. But on any given night, 82 games, unless Golden State takes the night off, I mean, who wants to see Golden? I don't understand it. Oh, man.
Well, as usual, you're wrong, Stephen A. Smith. Saying that Kevin Durant ruined this upcoming regular season is like saying the 1992 Dream Team ruined the Olympics. That was spectacle. That was awesome to watch. Here's the difference. Imagine if in 92, instead of just destroying the rest of the world, and that includes in the gold medal round, waiting for the Dream Team in the gold medal round was the Redeem Team. Waiting for Jordan and Pippen and Barkley and Patrick Ewing and all those guys, waiting for them was LeBron James and Chris Paul and all of those guys. Because that's what we have here. Yes, of course, the Golden State Warriors, assuming health, will be unchallenged during the regular season and even in the Western Conference playoffs. I feel differently than you. I think in a 7-game series, you're less likely to do anything against them because over time, you will actually find out who's the better team. And it's so clear that they're the better team. Doc Rivers is right. There's no gap. That's a Grand Canyon between them and the Clippers, who weren't communicating on defense, which you have to do. And even then, it ain't going to help you that much against this Golden State Warriors team. So, yes, they will romp through the regular season, assuming health. They will destroy everyone in the playoffs, and, yes, that includes the Spurs and the Clippers and the Thunder and whoever else you want to mention. But waiting for them in this year's upcoming finals, this season's upcoming finals, is another super team that they just split the last 2 finals with. This is one of the most epic setups to a season and postseason in the history of American team sports. And you're lamenting the fact that the Warriors are going to be this awesome? Why? Because the GM didn't pull the trade? Because when a general manager does this, these teams are roundly praised. When Brian Cashman, I mentioned earlier in the show, brings in Chuck Knobloch before the 1998 season, and the Yankees win 125 games, everyone lauds them. But when the player decides through free agency, which he earned, he did not have a choice what team he went to. He played 7 years for that team.
You're talking to the wrong dude.
And now when he decides,
I am a player's guy. I am a player's guy. I have religiously been a player's guy all my career. I am all about the players. Here's the problem. First of all, if the GM, this is not baseball, this is basketball. And if the trade was made, the likelihood they would have had to give up mega parts in order to get a guy the quality
you can
of
sign
Kevin
guys
Durant.
in baseball.
He would have. No, wait a minute. You can sign them, but what I'm saying is just signing them. If you had traded for them in the NBA, you have to have equitable compensation. It's rare that you're able to pull off a heist where you get a Kevin Durant by giving away nothing in return. It doesn't work that way.
Miami got LeBron James and Chris Bosh.
Time out. Miami got LeBron James and Chris Bosh. Miami, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, D. Wade, in 2007 signed 3-year deals with an opt-out in 2010. As I reported on many occasions, it was never supposed to be Chris Bosh. It was always supposed to be Carmelo, who was in Miami. But Carmelo wanted his 5 years, $80 million from Denver because he sat up there and said, I'm not letting go of that kind of money instead of betting on himself, which is why Bosh ended up there with D. Wade and LeBron. Secondly, LeBron, even though people want to call him out, I got some of my boys always calling LeBron out for leaving for Miami to begin with. Keep in mind that Miami was 47-35 the year before. They got bounced out in 5 games in the first round by Boston. Boston still had the big 3 in KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Rondo was there. And on top of it all, Indiana was on a come-up. Plus, LeBron had left Cleveland because of a lot of personal stuff that went on that really rubbed him the wrong way. So that's not the same as Kevin Durant.
When that happened, LeBron and Dwayne Wade were 2 of the 3 best players or 4 best players on planet Earth playing on the same team with another perennial all-star. We all knew what was going to happen. They were going to be an immediate powerhouse. And that's what happened.
Wait a minute. And they hold it. It wasn't immediate because they lost to Dallas. That's number 1.
In a game in which LeBron choked away the finals, still went to the finals year 1.
Oh, wait a minute. Not only did they lose to Dallas, but the following year, they were down 3-2 to that very crew in Boston before LeBron James went ballistic in Game 6, dropped 45-15.
The Warriors are coming up against a team in these finals that they've beaten 6 competitive games without their when that other team was missing 2 of their best 3 players, and then followed that up, collapsing up 3-1, and they just added an all-star, making these finals even better.
Hold on. Draymond Green got suspended for Game 5. Iguodala got hurt for Game 5 and Game 6. Bogut as well. You had 3 different guys that went down. wait a minute. What I'm saying to you is this. LeBron did not join a team that was 73-9 with a two-time league MVP, with the best shooting backcourt in the history of basketball. That's not the team he joined. You look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant by himself, not needing anybody. Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Kevin Durant is a top 3 player on the planet. And you go to the team that beat you? Oh, don't get me started with this. I'm trying not to be upset, Max. Don't tick me off. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. The regular season.
Why do you think he went to the Warriors, Stephen A? Why the Warriors?
Because he wants to ensure. Because first of all, he wants to give himself the best chance to win a title.
What gives them the best chance? Are they the most talented team, or are they the best constructed team with the best culture? Because the Warriors are here being rewarded for playing the right way.
I would have to say both.
Kevin Durant, well, maybe.
I'm not knocking the Warriors. I'm not knocking the Warriors. The Warriors did nothing wrong.
Well, why is Durant doing something wrong? Why is Durant doing something wrong if he looks at the Warriors and goes, look, he was on the team at the time with Ibaka and Westbrook and an excellent and improving rotation of young players and a better coach than he used to have. He came very close to beating the Warriors. Why did he leave for the Warriors? Because he felt like he couldn't beat them, or because he felt like they play the way he wants to play?
Oh, come on now. The fact of the matter is that, look, you want me to go there? I'll go there.
Please.
He took the easy way out. He took the easy way out. And by the way, I'm going to say it again because, see, I don't want to come across as being disrespectful towards Kevin Durant. I'm applauding his greatness. I'm saying he's so great that the balance of power shifts that dramatically. I'm complimenting him. But while doing so, I have to acknowledge to you, I'm not talking about a player. I consider Kevin Durant a superstar. It is the weakest move I have ever seen by a superstar. Ever. There's no disputing this. This man is that great, and his team was on the cusp of a championship. You can legitimately make the argument he choked in Game 6.
Sure.
In Game 7, he waited too long to be aggressive.
Okay.
So if you choked in Game 6 and you waited too long to be aggressive in Game 7, you were the reason primarily that y'all lost to Golden State.
Don't you think
and then
he
you
knows,
joined them?
Don't you think Kevin Durant knows that this would be the reaction and that he would get much more credit for staying the course and has a very good chance to beat the Warriors if he stayed there, considering how close that series was? I saw you at Game 7. We were both there. I mean, that was a close game that was decided in the last couple of possessions that game. You don't think that he knows, with a better coach than he used to have, at least in terms of playoff X's and O's, with the best supporting cast he's ever had around him, that are all kind of reaching their prime together and all that, you don't think he knows he'd get more credit for staying? So the question as to why he leaves is best answered because he's sick and tired of talking about who takes the last shot, him or Westbrook. On the Warriors, the guy who takes the shot is the open man, and that's the way he wants to play. He doesn't want to have to worry about egos and alphas. He wants to play basketball the right way, and he looks at the Warriors and says they do that.
I was completely unaware that Kevin Durant went and hired Max Kellerman to be his publicist. I mean, you're doing a beautiful job. I want to compliment you on that. It's absolutely sensational. You make a very, very compelling argument.
Well, thank you very much.
But it doesn't negate the facts. And it's not just about Stephen A. Smith. There are old school dudes. There are Hall of Famers. There are champions who all have religiously said it's not something they would do. You have guys in the NBA that Kevin Durant is still... Hold on. You have guys in the NBA who Kevin Durant have walked up to as we speak. I'm not talking about this moment, but throughout the offseason, asking guys all over the place, how do you feel about what I did? Do you think I did the right thing, or whatever the case may be? There is no question that Kevin Durant is a superstar. I know he's a great guy. I don't care what issues he might have with what I'm saying. I think he is a superstar of the highest order and a good person. But the move to go to Golden State, not anywhere else. He could leave for anywhere else. But to go to that team is the weakest move I have ever seen by a superstar, and it does not compare in any way to LeBron, because Miami was not Golden State. It's two different stratospheres.
I mean, if you put enough great players together, you can assume they're going to be really good. And if that's the weakest move by a superstar you've ever seen, then I suppose the weakest move by a GM ever is when the Lakers traded for Wilt Chamberlain to put him together with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. That was a very weak move by the Lakers, I suppose.
Okay. But then again, the executive himself isn't the one on the court competing. It's the player.
Right. It's fine when the GM moves the pieces around the board, but when the player moves the pieces around the board, that's not good.
Well, what I'm saying to you is this. Kevin Durant, he goes out on the court. You're leaning on the best shooting backcourt of all time.
Sounds pretty good.
Along with a crew of dudes that just went 73-9. Who beat you? You got to remember, it's not about Golden State and just their record. It's the fact that he went to the team who beat him. If he didn't play Golden State in the playoffs, I wouldn't be saying this. But they beat you.
Right. If that's how
and
hard
you don't
it is,
want them?
that's
you don't
how
want them
hard
back?
it is
you
to
want
win a
join
championship in the
Come
NBA.
On.
Every dynasty ever in the NBA, the dynasties, when you look at them on paper, you go, that is an unfair team, because that's what it takes, particularly with a LeBron James super team in the other conference.
Well, I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit because you've covered boxing. You've seen a guy get knocked out and then get up and kiss the opponent after the opponent knocked him out. So I guess you're used to that kind of stuff.
So you want to kiss me now? Is that what you're saying? Are you trying to kiss me now? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Just because you get knocked out, you're trying to get up and kiss me?
First of all, I'm waiting for you to hit me with a jab, let alone a knockout blow. Secondly, and more importantly, the bottom line is this. You can look at it any way you want to. What it really, really comes down to is the fact that, again, you went to the team who beat you.
No, we get it.
I can't emphasize that enough. Come on,
and a lot of people are as livid as you are, Stephen A., but you guys clearly opposite ends of the spectrum here. Stephen A. depressed about the super team. Max is fired up. Yes.
Molly, could you imagine if I had to travel to California to see that game last night? You have any idea how ticked off I would be?
See, that's what this is really about. This is you being selfish, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, and you know what they say? They say a happy wife, happy life. A happy Stephen A. is a happy first take. We want to keep you happy. All right, let's see what the people think. We want you guys to weigh in at home. Did Kevin Durant going to Golden State ruin the regular season? Go on our First Take Twitter page, vote. We'll share those results a little later. Curious to see what everyone else thinks. Heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has been making headlines left and right since winning the belt. Now he's opening up to Rolling Stone about his personal struggles with drugs and depression, saying, listen, I've done a lot of things in my life. I've done lots of cocaine, lots of it. Why shouldn't I take cocaine? It's my life, isn't it? I can do what I want. Plenty of people have done cocaine as well. What the bleep has that got to do with anything? That ain't a performance-enhancing drug. Am I not allowed to have a life now as well? Do they want to take my personal life off me too? I've not been in the gym for months. I've not been training. I've been going through depression. I just don't want to live anymore. If you know what I'm saying, I've had total enough of it. They forced me to the breaking edge. Never mind cocaine, I just didn't care. I don't want to live anymore, so cocaine is a little minor thing compared to not wanting to live anymore. Fury recently testing positive for cocaine and was declared medically unfit to fight a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. Max, what should happen with Fury?
Well, he should be stripped of the title. But I have a theory about this, Stephen A. And let me just say, Tyson Fury, even though he said some anti-Semitic and anti-gay things and says outrageous things, and people will read some of what he just had to say as outrageous, in spite of that, is on a personal level actually a charming guy, and in many respects may reflect this generation's access to all of this information, but a lot of it's low-quality information that you can get online, for example, and without a lot of formal education, doesn't know how to vet the information, doesn't know what to make of it all, so picks and chooses the stuff that reinforces some of the bad stuff he already believes. He reminds me, Stephen A., of another kind of paranoid, delusional champion who folded under the pressure of defending his title. And let me just say, when someone's talking about suicide, that's really serious. It's very important. He's admitting he's depressed. He's admitting he's suicidal. That should be taken seriously, and hopefully he gets better and gets help. But I'm reminded of Bobby Fischer, the great chess champion, won the title in the early mid-'70s, and had talked a lot of smack. Now, Fischer was a much greater chess player than Tyson Fury is a fighter. but on the way up had talked a lot of smack about how he was going to beat everybody, and he finally won the title. And he couldn't, his ego was so thin, it was so unprepared to be champion, he couldn't tolerate the idea of defending the title, because if you defend it, you might lose it. And once you've achieved everything you said you were going to achieve, why take that risk? And his personality collapsed under that pressure and never really played another serious game of chess on a world-class level again. Tyson Fury's no Bobby Fischer for his sport. He had a much rockier road to the title, but he was undefeated, and he talked smack the whole way. And when he eventually won the title, Stephen A. Smith, it was against a great champion, long reigning. Yes, Vladimir Klitschko was old, probably not as good as he once was, maybe didn't take Tyson Fury seriously enough. It was a terrible fight, one of the worst heavyweight fights you ever want to see. But Tyson Fury actually did it. He won the heavyweight title. And now the thought that he's accomplished that, of having to defend it, I believe his personality is collapsing under that pressure. That's my read of this situation.
Well, first of all, you're right about the fight. It was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. And Vladimir Klitschko, I didn't know what the hell was wrong with him. He was scared to throw the right hand for like the first 8 rounds or something. I couldn't believe how much aggression he lacked. I was very, very surprised by that. But it was one of the worst fights I've ever seen, to be quite honest with you. Tyson Fury, I think when he won the title, he stood in the ring and sang to his fiancée or his wife. I think that I remember that. 25-0, 18 KOs. He wasn't that impressive to me. I will tell you this. When you say he should be stripped of his title, I don't disagree, but only because of what he said. What's the big deal? So what, I did it. I got bigger issues. He's a problem, and you're going to have to deal with that problem. And you can't deal with it with this guy thinking that it's no big deal that he's using cocaine, okay? A matter of fact, Max, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke or something like that. But when the news was revealed that he had tested positive for cocaine, he sent out a tweet with a picture of him being Tyson Montana.
Tony Montana.
Like Tony
Montana from Scarface.
From Scarface.
Right. Behind a
That's
mountain
right.
of
from
cocaine.
Scarface,
yeah.
right? About a hound of cocaine. And that's what he did. That's what he put there. Clearly unapologetic. The guy's a problem. You can't have that as the heavyweight champion of the world. It's a bad representation for the sport of boxing, and he should be stripped immediately.
I disagree with that, Stephen A.
Remember.
Good. I disagree with that because one of the things that I love about the heavyweight championship of the world, and I talk about lineal titles, meaning the man who beat the man, I don't pay attention to sanctioning bodies, is because you can be however you want once you win the heavyweight championship. No one has to like it. A lot of people didn't like Muhammad Ali, and they stripped him for un-American comments at the time, but you have to beat him in the ring. The reason I would strip him in this case has nothing to do with what he said, whether he's glamorizing drugs or not. It's the fact that he's admitting that he is not in a position to defend his title, partly because he's abusing drugs, and after a certain point in time, the heavyweight title can't be frozen. He's freezing the title.
Well, let me speak. Let me get to my point. I'm saying to you, he's admitting he's got this problem and that he doesn't care. So he's not trying to alleviate the problem. If you're not trying to alleviate the problem, you're giving indications that you're going, not only have you done it, you will continue to do it because you don't see what the big deal is and you don't care how it looks. That's a problem for the sport. The difference between that and other folks is that even when they had a problem, they tried to hide it because they didn't want to reveal it, which means somewhere within the crevices of their soul, they knew it was wrong. They just either couldn't help themselves or wanted to try and get away with it, but they knew it wasn't something they could bloviate about publicly because, again, champions can't be that way in representing their sport. So the fact that he's unapologetic about it, to me, has everything to do with why he should be stripped.
But that's why that's the point I'm arguing. That's the point I'm arguing. What I'm saying is, I don't care. I agree. I don't care that he says that he wants to glamorize drugs, that he's admitting that he has. I don't care about that. That's not.
But I'm saying I got your point. I'm saying I got your point. I just disagree with that. I got your point. I heard your argument. We comprehend it. I disagree. I think because he said what he said, he should be stripped. But also because of the sport of boxing being the way it is, all I was going to add to that was, let's not act like this is new. There's been a whole bunch of fighters in the sport of boxing that had a multitude of very, very serious issues, and they were still champions, okay? Let's understand that. But I differ from you because of what he said on the record, how unapologetic
right,
he
that's
is.
what we're arguing about.
I cannot have that.
Yes, that's what
representing my
yes,
sport.
that I agree.
cannot do
You have
that.
identified the point of contention. That is, in fact, what we're arguing about. And what I'm saying is, what's so cool about boxing and championships is it doesn't matter what you think about drugs or politics or groups of people or anything else. Either they can whoop you in the ring or they can't. So I don't care about any views someone espouses in terms of them being qualified to be champion, because that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is your preparedness to defend your title. And if, because of some view you hold about drugs, it's fine to do and therefore I'm out of shape, or your mental health prevents you from defending the title, and you're admitting you're not going to do anything about it, and in fact, you're therefore not going to defend the title, then you should be stripped, because what you're essentially saying is you're freezing out the rest of boxing.
Max, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If Tyson Fury was training in a gym and he was in shape, but he looked you in your face and said, yo, Max, let's talk some boxing. And he starts sniffing coke right in front of you and he don't mind. But he's training.
Yep.
And he's in shape to fight to defend his crown.
Yep.
You're saying that you would condone him stepping in the ring, knowing he's coked up, and you have no problem with that?
No, you could actually argue that changes the competitive landscape of the fight, and it's illegal, and they test for it, and I think it's a good thing they test for it. But if he's simply espousing beliefs about drugs or talking about past use, then, yeah, he can still be heavyweight champ and fight.
But he's not just espousing use. He's not just espousing use.
Right.
He's telling you he's
actually
using. He doesn't see the big deal.
And that's preventing him from fighting, and therefore he should be stripped because it's preventing him from fighting.
But he also said that he hadn't been in the gym. He hasn't trained. He's out of shape.
Yeah, but he said that was because he's depressed.
To you,
he can come
yeah, but I'm saying to Max, hold on, I'm saying to Max sounds like he's saying if the guy had just said I'm doing cocaine, but he was telling us that he's training and he's ready to kick Vladimir Klitschko's behind, then Max would have no problem with it. That's how it sounded. Well, that's all I'm trying to say.
If they have, there's a certain number of weeks that you get tested and you can't be using certain chemicals before the fight. If you violate that, then that's bad, and then you could be stripped. But if you're talking about use outside of the kind of the scope of those tests, and you're using outside the scope of those tests, what does that have to do with whether or not you can whoop someone in the ring?
If you test positive for cocaine, you don't need to be the heavyweight champion of the world.
But look,
period.
Once upon a time, people said that about Jack Johnson, about Muhammad Ali. Now, those were more serious, important issues that I think you and I would agree upon, that Jack Johnson was married to a white woman and crossed state lines with her, that Muhammad Ali didn't want to be inducted into the armed forces on religious grounds. Okay, fine. But the bottom line still was people who supported them on both sides, even some political opponents of Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali, would say, wait a minute, can you whoop him in the ring? Because if you can't, he's still champ. But Ali and Johnson were willing to get in the ring.
That about a cocaine
this guy's not willing to get in the ring.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't even if he was willing to get into the ring, if he's admitting that he's sniffing coke on a daily basis, I don't think people would approve of that. That's me. I don't believe that.
Defense attorneys in the $21 million rape lawsuit against Derrick Rose complained about the racial and ethnic makeup of the prospective Los Angeles jury pool, noting the fact that there were only 2 African-American, like the defendants, and that 15 of the first 27 jurors were Hispanic, which is the ethnicity of the woman. Judge Michael W. Fitzgerald said the jury pool was selected at random from a diverse population and that the racial makeup of it was just tough luck. Rose was not in the Los Angeles courtroom because the New York Knicks opened their preseason in Houston the same day, but he was expected to appear Thursday. Stephen A., what's your reaction to the judge's comments?
I have a problem with it. I have a big problem with it. And I'm certainly not trying to absolve Derrick Rose of anything. He says he's innocent. Obviously, the alleged victim believes otherwise, and we'll find out whatever we can find out as the civil trial unfolds. We'll learn more about it. And if he did anything wrong to that young lady, he deserves his comeuppance, as any man would. You don't do something like that to any human being, especially a woman. Having said all of that, my issue is with the judge and his comment. basically saying tough luck. I am no lawyer, even though, Max, if I were not doing this, everyone that knows me knows that I would have pursued being a criminal lawyer. That was actually my dream job, to be a criminal lawyer when I was in school. I will tell you this, just being a law and order fanatic, not being an expert on the law, not knowing anything, one of the things that every American citizen is aware of is the popular saying, a jury of your peers. The defendant is who you're referring to here, no one else. And if the defendant in question is Derrick Rose, and he is an African-American, and you only have 2 African-American jurors, that's a problem. And for a judge to sit up there and say, well, tough, no, that I don't vibe with that. Now, if I'm wrong because I'm not familiar with the legalese, I apologize. I certainly get that. But the flip side to all of this is, let's be very, very clear here. When you are a defendant and you are on trial in any capacity, maybe it's different for a criminal trial than it is for a civil trial. I'm not sure. I do not know the answer to that question. But I've always been under the impression that if you are a defendant in a courtroom and a jury is judging you, rather, then it is supposed to be a jury of your peers. And if Derrick Rose is bringing that into question, I think that's very legitimate on his part, and I think it warrants a different answer from the judge than tough luck. I definitely think that that's the case, particularly, and I'm going to go here, you're an African-American in this country. Well, listen, we've been talking about police brutality and all of that other stuff. Let me be very, very clear. As an African-American, the African-American community has historically had issues with the justice system, not just police officers. When you go to court, when you go to trial, when you look at juries, when you're thinking about a judge, when you think about the laws in place, there are a bevy of questions that raise the eyebrows. And so for me, this is one of those things where it's applicable. You're Derrick Rose, you are an African-American, you are a superstar multimillionaire athlete, you are involved in a civil trial where the alleged victim is claiming that you and 2 others raped her. Okay, you deserve what you get if you're guilty, I tell you that much. But the jury should somehow represent him. And 2 out of, 10, 11, 12 jurors doesn't seem to fit that bill, Max. It just doesn't.
Derrick Rose has been treating this in the press, it seems, a bit casually. He's not giving the standard no comment answer when he's asked questions. He's answering every question. And maybe he should be, maybe he's not aware of how serious the accusations are, or maybe he is innocent and believes he is innocent and feels, therefore, that justice will prevail and he can answer questions openly because there hasn't been a settlement in this case. He is answering all the questions. But the defense, his defense team, believes that, and defense attorneys, period, believe that the ethnic composition and racial composition of a jury is important in terms of getting just verdicts for their clients. And we'd like to believe we live in a post-racial world, and it wouldn't be, which is why I suppose if you're in a given neighborhood, you just do a random selection, and whatever the composition of the jury is, it is. But the fact is, when the judge says, hey, that's just your tough luck, to Derrick Rose's defense attorney, it is his tough luck because at the very least, defense attorneys believe, who are getting paid to get their client off, believe that that they will not get as good of an outcome if they're underrepresented in terms of the racial makeup of the jury pool, of the jury, rather. Well, and so it is very tough luck for him because we don't, in fact, live in a post-racial world. These things do seem to have an effect on outcomes.
Well, you're absolutely right about that, and that was my point. I also want to sit there and make sure that I don't absolve Derrick Rose. First of all, he should have been there for jury selection. A preseason game ain't more important than this. Missed the damn game. He certainly missed enough games for lesser reasons in his career. Okay, he should have been there for the jury selection. He should have been there to make sure that he was face to face with potential jurors so they could see him, and he had something to do in terms of whispering in his defense attorney's ear, or that again, I got a problem with this, that, or the other. That was his mistake. He owns that. But the racial composition that you alluded to, it's not something to be ignored. It's something that black people have complained about throughout history. That's one of the things we've complained about with our justice system. Make no mistake about it. It's pivotal, it's relevant, it's necessary, and I'll go as far as to say this. The judge is wrong to have such a cavalier attitude. I'd also like to say this, Max. I don't get the impression that Derrick Rose is cavalier about this at all. Him answering questions is somebody that appears to be defiant about his innocence. Now, he had damn well better be innocent. There's no question about that. But he is somebody that is unwise as it may be, is stupid as it may be. The fact of the matter is he's somebody that cannot be accused of ducking this issue, because every time you put a microphone or a camera in his face and ask him a question, he's not running from it at all.
But I think
He's
it is fair
steadfastly.
I understand what you're saying. I don't say cavalier, but maybe a little bit casual in terms of it, rather than giving no comments, actually giving the comment in terms of not missing a preseason game. And that can come off one of two ways, at least two ways.
Okay, not missing a preseason game.
Right.
Not missing the game.
When you put the whole picture together, it can either come off to people as, oh, well, he must really be or believe he is innocent of these charges, or he would be taking this, at least the appearance would be he's taking it more seriously, or he doesn't get how serious this whole thing is, and therefore is part of a problem from a societal point of view. That could be interpreted in two very different ways.
It could be both. It could be both. It could be that he is coming across as relatively innocent with his willingness to speak on the issue, but then the flip side is him missing a portion of it to play in a preseason game. It goes towards the cavalier aspect. I mean, Molly, I'd like to know what you think about this real quick. I mean, you could take it both ways. He should have been there. Shouldn't have been in some damn preseason game. But at the same time, he hasn't run from the issue when you put a microphone or a camera in front of his face.
You know what, Stephen A., I don't know enough about the details of the actual case, so I don't want to speak to it. I have an idea. I've read articles on it in the past, and it was pretty graphic. I just hope through the court system we can kind of get to the bottom here either way. But I don't really know enough to speak on the victim's behalf or Derrick Rose.
No, I was just talking about what we were saying in terms of how he was coming across, whether it's in front of the camera or
it's hard to know
playing the game instead of skipping the game.
If he's completely innocent, I get it, because you've got nothing to hide, so don't hide and shy away from the cameras. If he's not, it's kind of like, why are you acting so casual? And as far as the preseason game, no, I don't think he should have been at the preseason game. I would have went to court and shown up and dealt with those issues and shown how serious it is. But again, maybe he feels he's innocent. It's all going to be taken care of, so it's going to be behind him, and he's focusing on basketball. So just kind of too much gray area there for me to really side with either of you. But coming up next, we are going to stay with the NBA. Did Durant's decision to take his talents to Golden State ruin the regular season? We will reveal those results after the break.
First Take is brought to you by Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Coming up tomorrow on the show, rapper, producer, and Atlanta superfan T.I. will be in the house. We're looking forward to that. Tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Stephen A., before we get to our next topic here, I think there was something you had wanted to clear up.
Well, I need to clear this up because yesterday, a mistake that I made, I said that while LeBron James endorsed Hillary Clinton, Dan Gilbert, the owner for the Cleveland Cavaliers, had endorsed Trump. Dan Gilbert had some folks reach out to me to say that that is absolutely not true. He never has endorsed Donald Trump, despite the Republican National Convention being at the Quickens and Loans Arena, and despite the fact that a Republican Party was hosted at by one of the companies Dan Gilbert owns in Detroit last Friday. There is no endorsement of Trump. He's never endorsed either candidate. He has not endorsed Trump. He has not endorsed Hillary Rodham Clinton, and he just wanted to make sure that I emphasize that the Cavaliers organization rather wanted to make sure that I emphasize that for the record. Dan Gilbert did not endorse Donald Trump. So that was my mistake. There was a Republican Party at a place where Dan Gilbert's company owns and rents out this place. And they hosted a Republican Party there, but that doesn't mean they endorse Trump. So I want to make sure I corrected that.
Got it. Appreciate you clearing that up. Let's get to our topic now. We asked you guys to weigh in on Twitter. Did Kevin Durant ruin the regular season? You know what Stephen A. thinks. And 56% are with him, saying yes. Did our Twitter followers get it right, Mr. Smith?
For once, they did. Listen, man. Look, Max loving his boxing, even though he loves and knows his basketball too. And I can't wait to talk NBA basketball throughout him this year because he knows his basketball the way that I know my boxing. The fact of the matter is, Max Kellerman sits up there, and you know what I realize about Max, Molly?
What?
Max don't like competition. Max likes blowouts. Max likes annihilations. Max likes all that. Max doesn't like the thrill, the adventure, or whatever the case may be. You wish, boy, you wish. Please don't get me started. I can't believe this, but that's what Max wants. That's what Max wants. He wants blowouts. That's okay.
No,
I want you to travel
but there is
to Oakland.
something.
Fly all the way across the country,
There is
Max.
something.
Go ahead.
There is something to watching Mike Tyson in his prime knock out Michael Spinks in one round. You could be ringside for that too, and that's what we're about to see.
I hope it happens for you. I hope it happens for you. I hope you have to fly across the country to watch boxing matches and everything ends for you this year in 30 seconds. That would be the equivalent. I'm wishing that on you, Max Kellerman.
The country did get it right. 44% of the country who obviously feel that he didn't ruin the regular season are right. And I can't wait for the rubber match. In the finals, we already know what it's going to be. I will watch the whole season. I'll still watch.
June's a long way away.
Yep, that's right.
June's a long way away. You know how much traveling I got to do between now and June?
Oh, you can watch some of the most awesome basketball ever played.